If you're over 60, let me ask you something. Have you ever sat down to enjoy a nice plate of fish, grilled, fried, or baked, and thought to yourself, this is healthy, this is good for me? Well, what if I told you, not all fish are created equal. In fact, some of the fish many people over 60 eat regularly could quietly be doing more harm than good. They might look fresh, smell delicious, and even be recommended by friends. But inside your body, they could be working against your heart, your memory, even your bones. Now, I know that sounds shocking, and maybe even a little uncomfortable, but here's the truth. Once you cross that 60 mark, your body changes. It doesn't process food the same way it did when you were 30 or 40. The liver and kidneys, the organs that filter out toxins, aren't as efficient as they once were. Your bones need more support, your memory needs more protection, and your heart needs extra care. That's why the fish you choose matters more than ever. And here's where it gets tricky, because many of the so-called healthy fish on the menu, yes, the ones you might have grown up eating, the ones you might even have stocked in your freezer right now, carry heavy metals, toxins, or unhealthy fats that your body just can't handle the same way anymore. Over time, those choices can quietly add up. Maybe it shows up as unexplained fatigue, maybe as joint pain, maybe as forgetfulness you can't quite put your finger on. But here's the good news. It's not all bad. There are also certain fishes, small, powerful, nutrient-packed, that can do wonders for your health if you start eating them consistently. They can help sharpen your memory, strengthen your bones, and even keep your heart beating strong. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. By the end of this video, you'll know the 4 worst fishes you should never touch after 60 and the 4 best ones you absolutely should be eating if you want to protect your health and stay strong in your golden years. Now, before we get started, let me ask you something simple. Fish is one of the most common foods worldwide, right? So let's take a little poll right here in the comments. Type the words "I eat fish" if fish is already part of your weekly diet. I want to see how many of you are already including it regularly. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us here at Medsential, where we share trusted senior health tips that really matter. Because here, it's all about helping you make small, smart choices that can add up to years of better living. So grab a seat, maybe even grab a notepad, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you look at your plate forever. Let's start with the very first fish on the list. And this one might surprise you. It's called king mackerel. Now, maybe you've had it grilled at a restaurant, or maybe you've seen it sold in big, hearty fillets at the market. It's often praised as a rich, oily fish full of protein. And sure, on the surface, it seems like a healthy choice. But here's the problem. For someone over 60, king mackerel can quietly become one of the most dangerous fish you could put on your plate. I want you to picture this. An elderly gentleman, let's call him Robert, decides to eat grilled king mackerel once or twice a week. He loves the flavor, it's affordable, and he's heard that fish is good for the heart, so he keeps it as part of his routine. But slowly Robert starts noticing changes. His energy feels lower. He wakes up tired, even after a full night's sleep. His memory seems a little foggy. Sometimes when he's reading the newspaper, he finds himself rereading the same paragraph over and over. His family thinks, well, maybe it's just age catching up. But behind the scenes, something else is happening. That something is mercury. King mackerel is one of the highest mercury-containing fish you can eat, And mercury is no small thing. It's a heavy metal that builds up in your body over time. When you were younger, your system may have processed and flushed out small amounts more efficiently. But after 60, your organs don't filter toxins quite as quickly. What does that mean? It means mercury can linger longer. And the longer it lingers, the more it disrupts your brain and nervous system. This isn't just theory, it's science. Studies have shown that high levels of mercury exposure are linked to memory problems, nerve damage, fatigue, and even issues with balance and coordination. And let's be real here. When you're over 60, the last thing you want is anything that worsens brain fog, weakens your body, or increases your risk of falls. Now here's where the misconception comes in. A lot of people hear mackerel and immediately think it's healthy. And to be fair, not all mackerel is bad. Atlantic mackerel, for example, is much lower in mercury and actually a great source of omega-3s. But king mackerel? That's a completely different story. The word king might make it sound grand, but in this case, it's the king of mercury buildup, and that's not a crown you want in your body. So what should you do instead? Do you have to give up fish altogether? Absolutely not. The key is swapping risky choices for safer, smarter ones. If you enjoy oily fish, try sardines or wild-caught salmon. Sardines are small, packed with omega-3s, and low in mercury because they're at the bottom of the food chain. Salmon, especially wild Alaskan salmon, delivers the same heart-friendly fats without the dangerous levels of heavy metals. Both are not only safer, but they also support your heart, your brain, and even your bones. So here's a takeaway. If you've been leaning on king mackerel, it might be time to rethink that habit. Because while it seems like a simple dinner choice, over time, it can slowly chip away at the very things you want to protect: your energy, your clarity, your independence. And king mackerel isn't the only one hiding in plain sight. In fact, the next fish I'm about to reveal is a little less common on most tables, but when it does appear, it carries an equally serious warning sign. Now let's talk about the second fish on our list, tilefish. You may not see it as often as salmon or mackerel, but it pops up in certain markets and restaurants. Sometimes it's sold under generic names, sometimes in mixed fish fillets that look clean, white, and harmless. And that's exactly why it can be so dangerous. It hides behind a healthy appearance. I want you to picture a woman in her late 60s. She's careful about her budget, so when she sees affordable white fish fillets at the store, she picks them up thinking, this is a lean protein, low in fat, good for me. She cooks them a couple of times a week, baked, maybe pan-fried, but over the months, she starts noticing something odd. Constant nausea, stiff, aching joints. Her arthritis, which she thought was manageable, feels worse. And no matter what she tries, she just doesn't feel like herself. Now here's the hidden truth. Tilefish is one of the highest mercury-containing fish in the ocean. In fact, it ranks at the very top of the list alongside shark and swordfish. That mercury doesn't just disappear when you cook it, it builds up in your body, little by little, every time you eat it. And for older adults whose systems can't filter toxins as efficiently, the effects show up even faster. What makes it worse is how sneaky it is. People assume that all white fish are safe. White usually means mild, lean, clean, right? But tilefish breaks that rule. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing, light on the outside, but heavy with toxins inside. So here's my advice. If you're looking for a lean, white fish that won't weigh your body down with mercury, Skip the tilefish and go for cod or haddock instead. Cod is gentle on the stomach, easy to cook, and rich in protein. Haddock is another mild-tasting fish, low in mercury and safe for regular meals. Both give you the nutrition you want without leaving harmful traces behind. Tilefish might not be the most common fish on your plate, but it's important to know its risks, because when it does show up, disguised as a bargain or sold under another name, you'll want to be ready to say no. But tilefish isn't the only fish that tricks people. The next one is even more surprising because it's a household favorite, something families buy thinking they're doing the right thing for their health. Yet in certain forms, it may be quietly working against you. That brings us to fish number 3, farmed salmon. Now, before you panic, let's be clear. Salmon itself isn't the enemy. In fact, wild salmon, especially from clean waters like Alaska, is one of the healthiest choices you can make. But farmed salmon, depending on where it's raised, can tell a very different story. Here's an example. A family decides to save money by buying big bags of salmon fillets from a bulk store. They love it. Salmon burgers, salmon salads, grilled salmon dinners. But the father in his 70s starts noticing changes. His blood pressure creeps higher. His doctor mentions cholesterol concerns. He feels sluggish after meals. Nobody suspects the salmon because, after all, isn't salmon supposed to be heart healthy? Here's the catch. Farmed salmon from certain regions is not the same as wild salmon. Many fish farms raise salmon in overcrowded pens. To keep them alive in those conditions, they're treated with antibiotics. Their feed is often processed and unnatural, leading to higher levels of fat. Not the good kind your body needs, but unhealthy fats that can strain your heart and raise your blood pressure. And it doesn't stop there. Farmed salmon often contains higher amounts of PCBs, industrial chemicals linked to cancer and other long-term health issues. When you combine that with the body's slower detox ability after 60, you can see how the risks start to add up. Now here's the big misconception. People believe all salmon is equally healthy, but that's simply not true. The difference between farmed and wild is like the difference between processed food and fresh food. They may look similar, but what they do inside your body is very, very different. So what's the better choice? Wild-caught Alaskan salmon. It may cost a little more, but it's worth every penny for your health. And if the fresh kind feels too expensive, don't worry. You can also buy frozen wild salmon or even canned wild salmon, which is often more affordable but just as nutritious. So here's the bottom line. If salmon is part of your routine, don't throw it out. Just make the smarter swap. Go wild, not farmed. Your heart, your memory, and your long-term health will thank you. And if that caught you off guard, just wait, because the last fish on our worst list is one you've probably seen served fried, baked, and stewed in kitchens all over. It's a comfort food for many, but depending on where it comes from, it could be carrying more than just flavor. Now let's move on to the 4th fish on our list, catfish. For many people, catfish is comfort food. Maybe you've had it fried golden and crispy at a family gathering. Maybe you've enjoyed it in a hearty stew that warms you from the inside out. It's affordable, it's filling, and it's widely available. And that's exactly why so many seniors keep catfish in their regular meal rotation. But here's where we need to pause. Because while catfish itself isn't automatically bad, the source of that catfish makes all the difference in the world. Let me paint you a picture. A retired couple, Both in their 70s, love their Friday night tradition. Fried catfish with coleslaw and cornbread. It's a meal that feels like home. But after a few months, they both start noticing recurring digestive issues. Stomach upset, bloating, sometimes even nausea. They chalk it up to just getting older. But what they don't realize is that the catfish they've been buying isn't the kind that comes from clean, regulated waters. It's imported, and that changes everything. Here's the science behind it. Imported catfish is often raised in overcrowded ponds or polluted waters where the fish are exposed to chemicals, pesticides, and even industrial runoff. To make matters worse, many of these farms use antibiotics to keep the fish alive in poor conditions. Those chemicals don't just disappear when the fish is processed. They can stay inside the flesh, ending up right on your plate. And when you're over 60, with a digestive system that's more sensitive than before, those hidden contaminants can lead to repeated stomach problems, weaken your immune system, and even put more stress on your liver. The big misconception with catfish is this: it's cheap, so it must be harmless. That's simply not true. Cheap doesn't always mean safe. In fact, sometimes the lower price is a red flag that corners are being cut in how the fish was raised or handled. And when it comes to your health, those shortcuts can cost you much more in the long run. So what should you do? If you enjoy catfish, don't feel like you have to give it up forever. The key is to be selective. Choose locally farmed, regulated catfish, the kind that comes from clean water and meets safety standards. It may cost a little more than the imported kind, but your body will thank you for it. Your digestion will feel smoother, your energy steadier, and you'll avoid the hidden risks that come with poorly raised fish. So here's the bigger picture. When you think about the four fish we've just covered, king mackerel, tilefish, farmed salmon from questionable sources, and imported catfish, they all share one thing in common. They look ordinary, even appealing, but they carry risks that your body, especially after 60, simply doesn't need. Risks that show up as fatigue, brain fog, joint pain, or digestive distress. Risks that can slowly steal away your comfort and independence without you even realizing the cause. But here's the encouraging part. Avoiding these fish doesn't leave your plate empty. Far from it. Because there are other options, wonderful nutrient-packed fish, that not only taste delicious, but also actively support your health. Fish that can protect your heart, sharpen your mind, strengthen your bones, and give you the energy to keep living life fully. And that's where we're headed next. Now that we've covered the four worst choices, let's shift gears into the exciting part. The four best fishes you should absolutely be eating after 60. These are the ones that can transform your meals into medicine, giving your body the boost it deserves in your golden years. Now that we've cleared the dangers out of the way, let's step into the good news. Fish that can truly nourish and protect you after 60. And the first one on this list might surprise you: sardines. For years, sardines have had a reputation. Some people wrinkle their nose at the smell. Others dismiss them as poor man's food, the kind of thing you'd find tucked away in an old tin at the back of the cupboard. But the truth is, sardines are one of the most powerful superfoods for older adults. Let me tell you about George. George is 72. For most of his life, he avoided sardines because he thought they were too strong in taste. But one day, after a chat with his doctor about bone health, he decided to give them a try. He started eating sardines about 3 times a week, sometimes on toast, sometimes stirred into a salad. sometimes just straight from the can with a squeeze of lemon. Within months, he noticed a difference. His energy levels picked up. His bones, which had felt weaker and more brittle, seemed steadier. Climbing stairs didn't leave him as winded. Even his mood felt lighter. What George didn't realize at first, but what science explains, is that sardines are packed with exactly the nutrients his body was craving. Sardines are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which protect your heart, support brain function, and ease inflammation in your joints. They're also loaded with calcium and vitamin D, two essentials for bone strength, especially important for seniors worried about osteoporosis. And here's another hidden benefit. Sardines are very low in mercury. Why? Because they're small fish at the bottom of the food chain, so they don't have time to accumulate heavy metals the way larger fish do. So why do so many people avoid them? Misconceptions. Many think sardines are smelly, messy, or cheap. But in reality, they're one of the most nutrient-dense foods you can buy, and often more affordable than other so-called health foods. The best part? They're versatile. Add them to salads for a protein boost. Mash them on whole grain crackers with a touch of olive oil for a quick, nourishing snack. Or mix them into pasta for a hearty, healthy dinner. Sardines may not look glamorous, but if you're over 60 and want stronger bones, sharper focus, and steady energy, they deserve a place on your plate. And if sardines surprised you, wait until you hear about the next one. A fish you've probably heard praised for years, but only if you choose the right kind. Does it truly protect your health? That brings us to the second fish on the must-eat list, wild salmon. Salmon is often hailed as the king of healthy fish, and for good reason. But here's the secret. Not all salmon is the same. The source matters, and the best choice by far is wild-caught Alaskan salmon. Let's talk about Mary. Mary is 68, and she started noticing little lapses in her memory. Nothing major at first, forgetting where she put her keys, losing her train of thought in the middle of a story. But over time, those little lapses became more frequent, and she grew worried. After some research, she decided to include wild salmon in her diet regularly. A couple of times a week, baked or grilled, sometimes even canned wild salmon for convenience. 6 months later, Mary felt sharper. She described it as if a fog had lifted. She could recall conversations more clearly, focus on her reading, and even her mood improved. What changed? The omega-3 fatty acids in salmon were feeding her brain. Science shows that omega-3s are crucial for protecting against dementia and age-related cognitive decline. They also reduce inflammation throughout the body, support heart health, and even ease joint stiffness. For seniors, this is like a triple win. Better memory, stronger heart, more mobility. But here's the catch. Not all salmon delivers these benefits. Farm salmon, as I mentioned earlier, can carry contaminants and unhealthy fats. That's why wild Alaskan salmon stands out. It's cleaner, leaner, and richer in the very nutrients your body needs. Now, some people say, but isn't wild salmon too expensive? And yes, fresh wild salmon can cost more, but here's the trick. You don't always need fresh fillets. Frozen wild salmon is often just as good and usually more affordable. Canned wild salmon is another excellent option. It's convenient, budget-friendly, and still packed with nutrients. So don't let the price tag scare you away. Think of wild salmon not as a luxury, but as an investment in your health. An extra few dollars today could mean fewer medical worries tomorrow. Salmon has earned its reputation as one of the best foods you can eat after 60, but only if you choose wild, not farmed. And if you thought salmon was impressive, wait until you hear about the next fish on the list. It's not as famous, but it's a quiet powerhouse, especially for protecting your eyesight and keeping your body strong. Next on our list of must-eat fishes is one that often gets overlooked: trout. Now, trout doesn't always get the same spotlight as salmon or tuna. Some people even dismiss it, calling it bland or ordinary. But don't let appearances fool you. For older adults, especially those wanting to protect their eyesight, their energy, and their overall strength, trout is a quiet powerhouse. Let me share a story. David, a 70-year-old retired teacher, had always loved reading, but over the years his eyesight began to weaken. Words on the page looked blurrier, and night driving became a struggle. He worried it was just the natural decline of aging, but after some encouragement, he decided to add rainbow trout into his diet a couple of times each week. Slowly, he began to notice a difference. His vision didn't suddenly become perfect, but it stabilized. He felt less strain in his eyes. On top of that, his energy felt steadier, and his overall health seemed to improve. What changed? The nutrients in trout were giving his body the boost it needed. Here's the science. Trout is loaded with vitamin B12, which keeps your nerves and blood cells healthy. It's rich in niacin, which supports brain function and lowers cholesterol. It also contains selenium, a mineral that protects your cells from damage. And the best part? Trout is low in toxins compared to many other fish, making it one of the safer choices for older adults. So why do people pass it by? The misconception is simple. Trout is bland, but that's only true if you don't know how to prepare it. With a little lemon, garlic, and fresh herbs, trout becomes flavorful, light, and satisfying. Grill it, bake it, or even pan-sear it with olive oil, and you'll see just how enjoyable it can be. For seniors looking for a gentle, nourishing fish that protects the eyes, supports the brain, and fuels the body, trout deserves a permanent spot on your table. And if trout sounds good, just wait until you hear about the last fish on our best list. It's tiny, often underestimated, but packs a punch far greater than its size. Finally, let's talk about anchovies. Now, I can already imagine some of you raising your eyebrows. Anchovies? Aren't those just the salty little strips people argue about putting on pizza? For years, they've been treated like an afterthought, even a joke. But here's the truth. For people over 60, anchovies are one of the smartest fish you can add to your diet. Let's look at Ruth's story. Ruth is 74, and she struggled with high cholesterol for years. She was careful with her food, but she still found herself worried every time she went in for a checkup. Then her daughter suggested something unusual, adding anchovies into her weekly meals. At first, Ruth laughed it off. Anchovies, really? But she gave it a try. She began adding them into soups and stews, using them to flavor sauces, and even tossing a few into salads. After a few months, Ruth noticed her cholesterol levels drop. She felt lighter, her energy was steadier, and her doctor was impressed with her progress. So why are anchovies so effective? First, they're a small fish, which means they carry minimal mercury. Unlike larger fish, they don't live long enough to accumulate heavy metals. Second, they are packed with omega-3 fatty acids, which protect your heart, keep your brain sharp, and reduce inflammation. Third, anchovies are surprisingly high in calcium, which is crucial for seniors battling brittle bones or osteoporosis. Yet the misconception lingers. Anchovies are junk food. People think of them only as greasy pizza toppings. But the reality is, anchovies are a nutrient-dense food that can transform your meals into powerful medicine. Here's the beauty of anchovies. You don't need a lot. Just a few fillets stirred into soups or stews add incredible depth of flavor. They practically melt away, leaving behind nutrition and taste without overpowering the dish. You can also mash them into salad dressings or sauces for a subtle, savory kick. Anchovies prove that big health benefits often come in small packages. If you're over 60 and serious about protecting your heart, your bones, and your energy, this tiny fish can deliver enormous results. So there you have it. Sardines, wild salmon, trout, and anchovies. The four fishes that can strengthen your body, protect your mind, and keep you thriving well into your later years. It's tough, isn't it? Realizing that some of the fish we grew up with, meals that remind us of family dinners, comforting traditions, recipes passed down, may now be doing us more harm than good. For many of us, those foods are tied to memories. And it's not easy to look at a plate and wonder if what once brought us joy might now be quietly stealing our strength. But here's the good news. Knowledge changes everything. You don't have to feel helpless, and you don't have to feel afraid, because now you know. You know which fish carry risks your body no longer needs to face. And more importantly, you know which ones can actually give you energy, protect your heart, sharpen your memory, and keep your bones steady. Think about it this way. Every meal is a choice. Every trip to the grocery store, every time you look at the menu, you're holding the power to decide what goes into your body. And those small decisions over time add up. They can mean the difference between feeling sluggish or feeling energized, between foggy memory or clear focus, between fragile bones or steady steps. So here's what I encourage you to do. The next time you're at the store, pause. Don't just reach for fish out of habit. Remember what we talked about. The four to avoid: king mackerel, tilefish, certain farm salmon, and imported catfish. And the four to embrace: sardines, wild salmon, trout, and anchovies. Let those names guide your hand. Let them guide your plate. And here's something I want you to carry with you. It's never too late to make a change. Even one swap can make a difference. Replace one risky fish with one nourishing option, and you'll feel the benefits sooner than you think. Your heart will thank you. Your mind will thank you. And most importantly, your future self will thank you. This isn't about giving up the joy of eating. It's about making choices that allow you to enjoy life longer, with more clarity, more energy, and more comfort. You're not losing traditions, you're gaining years. So yes, it may be tough at first to look at some old favorites differently, but with every bite of the right fish, you're investing in yourself, in your strength, in your independence, and in the moments still to come. So let's take a moment to recap everything we've uncovered together today. The four fish you should avoid, the ones that can quietly work against your health after 60, are king mackerel, tilefish, certain farmed salmon, and imported catfish. These may look appealing, and they may even be foods you've trusted in the past, but now you know the risks they carry. And on the other side, the four best fish you should embrace, the ones that can truly support your heart, your brain, and your bones, are sardines, wild salmon, trout, and anchovies. These are not just foods, they're natural medicine for your body. Simple, nourishing, and protective. Now I want to hear from you. Out of all the fish we've talked about today, which one surprised you the most? Was it the hidden dangers in a fish you thought was safe? Or the powerful benefits of a small fish you may have ignored for years? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And your answers might even help someone else reading them. So don't hold back. And if this video helped you, if it gave you even one new piece of information you can use to make a healthier choice, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Here at Medsential, we're building a space where seniors, caregivers, and families can find real, trusted guidance on health and elderly care. Every week, we share insights that can help you live stronger, live longer, and live with confidence. So if you haven't yet, subscribe now and join a community that cares about your well-being. Before we close, I just want to say this. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Thank you for caring enough about your health or the health of someone you love to sit down and listen. Because the choices you make today matter. They matter not just for you, but for every moment still waiting ahead. So stay informed, stay strong, and remember, you're not alone in this journey. We're in it together. I'll see you in the next Medsential video.